and we say marketing doesn't work, I'm not going to invest, I'm not going to do this, and I'll only believe that I have a beautiful product which solves an existing problem. I have built it, they will come to me. Today it doesn't work like that. Generate interests, nurture them, and qualify them into leads.
In 2034, does SEO exist? Hello. Welcome to the 4th episode of Unsold podcast. Hello, Santu.
Hi Gautam, very good afternoon to you and also our audience. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm in a very nice mood, a vibrant mood to talk about something very, very important.
Yeah, today's topic, challenges in building brand visibility for an early stage business.
Yes.
Right? Getting started
Mhm.
with limited resources.
The number one challenge for an early stage startup is they don't have many people nor may have a big budget to drive visibility to their brand. Now, what to do?
To add to this, time.
Yes, time. So, limited resources in the sense for an early stage startup, if the founder is of a product focused person or a technology focused person and may not have expertise in marketing, what does she do? What does he do? So, in that sense, they would have to hire somebody either full time or an agency or a freelance,
Yeah.
or work with somebody at least on a strategic level to figure out what kind of marketing can drive visibility to their brand. Now, here the first question is, where do you even start? Should I start talking about my product? Should I start talking about, should I write white papers about the problems? Where do you start? So I would say, to simplify, the very first challenge is, if you have paid customers, then tell their stories. Start with case studies. Figure out which type of buyer you're selling to and align the story of the case study to them. Make sure the pain points and the problems talk to them or speak to them, and also put enough data points that tells the story of before and after. A classic case study. There's nothing new about it. We're not reinventing the wheel here, but a classic case study. Start with that. So even if you hire a freelancer, make sure the freelancer get access to your customers, at least one particular user who is actually a beneficiary of the product, and interview them. Ask them questions, list a bunch of questions, and figure out what their responses are and turn that into a story. Now, once you have this content, a good writer should be able to articulate this. Either you hire this person full time or you hire them on a project basis. Get a very good case study written, and also a few charts and graphics wherever relevant or necessary, and figure out where you want to distribute them, because your content is only as good as distribution. It should be consumed by the right kind of people. Organic and paid, you take it from there. So if you are fighting against limited resources, then figure out and pick only one thing. Start with one thing. What is it? If you have customers, tell customer stories. Let's say you are at such an early stage, you don't have paid customers at all. What do you do then? Then talk about pain points, talk about challenges in the industry, top line, awareness about why this problem exists in this industry, what caused the problem, how currently your buyers are trying to solve. So educate. Start this way.
The second challenge is recognition and trust. So any early stage startup today, so they are desperate of recognition.
Yes.
So what is your take on this? How
Yeah.
can they tackle this?
Yeah. So without recognition, it's very difficult to convince your buyers to do business with you. Right? Recognition and trust are two very, very important things to an early stage startup. Now, at the early stage, the brand of the founder, the image, the founder's brand, and the company's brand image fuses into one. Because your product and your business is as good as you, the founder or the business leader. Now, try and leverage your network. If you have a decent following on your social channels, talk about why you've built the company, talk about the industry challenges, talk about why you want to solve the way you want to solve. Okay, be mindful of your competition and start there. Now, there is only one thing which can give you very good recognition: your expertise and your credibility. So, write or create content, shoot videos or audio, whatever you do, which highlights your expertise. Why you are that person, why you are that company to solve this problem in this particular way, and be consistent with it.
Say, suppose you are a business, early stage business. So, how can you differentiate from the existing competitor?
This differentiation is the sword every early stage startup lives and dies by. Now, it is very easy as a product developers or as a business, because we become so close with it. We are so ensconced with building it, and we love our product so much. It is quite natural to us to understand what our product is about. Because going back to why the founder of the company, what her or his expertise drove them to create the solution, right from that day onwards, they have immersed themselves into this. So it is very easy for them to believe that their product is very unique. But the challenge is articulating this in a very, very simple manner is very difficult. Okay. If you cannot articulate what your product is about and why, which should be relevant to the buyer in just one line, whatever we call it, elevator pitch, one line pitch, sales pitch, product pitch, whatever we call it, if we fail to do that, it'll be very difficult to market or sell the product. Now, this is a problem. Articulating is a very difficult problem. Now, how do we solve this? First, we have to understand, while you are selling your product, you are selling it to somebody, the buyer. The more you understand your buyer, the better you can craft your message which speaks to them. Okay? First, understand your buyer, and that one line message, that unique value proposition, is not about your product. It is the benefit of using your product to the buyer. Try and come up with as many iterations as possible through brainstorming within your own company. Talk to mentors, talk to people in your network. Come up with a very simple line, come up with multiple iterations, and keep working at it. You experiment. You take this, make it as your email signature, put it on your homepage of your website, put it on your product page. Make sure your LinkedIn banner or social media banners carry these one line pitches. Create hashtags that support them. Okay, run a traffic campaign either through organic or through paid with your homepage with this one line pitch. Okay, have a call to action below it. Run it for a few weeks. You have a different version. Run it for a few weeks. Compare. Only by knowing your buyer and experimenting will you arrive after a certain point at your unique value proposition. This is how you solve it.
So, in an effective marketing strategy, the core thing is, how can you identify your target audience?
Again, it is the buyer. Now, chances are there are certain products where the user, the beneficiary, the decision maker, and the person who signs off and uses it every day is the same person. For example, a data visualization tool or a very simple reporting tool. You take all your spreadsheets, upload it, it visualizes the data for you. In that case, the reporting analyst and tops may be the manager the analyst reports to, maybe the only two beneficiaries. The main beneficiary is obviously the person who uses the tool, and once the reports are generated, whoever consumes the report. Okay. Now, if your product speaks to and needs to be sold to one or no more than one or two people, then figuring out who your target audience is simple.
Okay.
This is the industry I want to target. Within this industry, I want to only target small and medium scale businesses or enterprise companies. Done. And within those, you figure out this is my buyer, CTO, or I would say data analysts, senior data analysts. And you can go to a level where you say, okay, only with people who have X number of experience or who are interested or skilled in a specific type of technology or whatever, you can narrow it down and say, okay, I want to market it. Then you have only that persona in mind. What do they live and breathe by? Now, what does their day to day look like? What do they do the moment they open their PC or laptop the first thing in the morning? Then you figure out how to market to them. But there are chances where your product is used by multiple people, many different teams, and there are many different beneficiaries, which means many different people have to sign off, which means there are many decision makers. Then your efforts to narrow down your target audience becomes a little complex. While everybody uses it, who do you approach first? Where do you even start? And once you have that unique value proposition, which you were talking about in the previous challenge a few minutes ago, if you have 3 different buyers, you should iterate, you should have a different flavor or version for each buyer. Because a CTO doesn't think like a CFO doesn't think like a head of a particular business function. So that way, first is figure out who your target audience is, and then you start. So deep market research, that is the only way you understand. And also you have to talk to them. Sometimes you think a CTO is the right person to sell, but he says, you know what? In this company, this is not under my scope. Go talk to this person. If you're targeting SMBs and even some enterprise companies, understand that hierarchies are not consistent. What falls within a CTO scope may not be same between two companies. It can be vastly different. So different people have different responsibilities. If the head of sales is tasked to do certain things, in the next company, the head of sales will focus only on sales and not on what technology drives sales. That can be the decision of a CTO or a strategy head. So that way, deep market research about your buyers, the more you talk to them, the more you ask them questions, the better you understand them.
Then only you'll get the clarity.
Then you start understanding, okay, you know what? This is my primary buyer and everybody else are secondary buyers.
So if you get the clarity, then the whole process will be smooth.
Yes. Because if you don't know who you're selling to,
Yeah.
then what do you say? It doesn't matter where you say it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, I have 1 lakh budget each month for LinkedIn paid. I have this foolproof plan to get on the first page of Google search. But if you don't know who you're talking to, the moment that person clicks and lands on that particular page or on that ad, it says, doesn't speak to me, and they'll move on. Yeah.
So next comes content creation and distribution. So today everybody uses smartphone. 90% screen time is of content consumption. That is video, the Instagram images, and sometimes podcast audio. How can you effectively utilize this content creation and distribution to drive
Visibility.
Yeah.
Visibility to the brand.
Yeah.
So, well, coming up with this strategy and understanding who your buyer is half the job. Then obviously you have to create content, you have to produce content, and also to understand your current user behavior. Today, if it was, let's say, 10 years ago, let's go back to 2014. If there's a B2B business, early stage business, to drive awareness, it's all about writing. You write blogs, you write a bunch of white papers, writing. People were inclined to read. Even if you go back to LinkedIn, those a decade ago, I wouldn't say trend, but at least the understanding was that text posts did well.
Yeah. Back then we were also writing the blogs, right?
Yeah, so we were writing blogs.
Yeah.
So, but today we have to pay attention to how user behavior has changed. Like how you started this point, content consumption has become very visual. Even just static images may not perform very well. And especially when it comes to a software product in a business sense, what do? What kind of content you produce? And once you figure out, okay, this is a type of content, where do you even distribute it? Organic, paid?
Is the screen matters here?
Yes. The best way to start is, let's go back to the first challenge we discussed. If you have paid customers, we talked about creating case studies. Okay. If you don't have paid customers, you're so early stage, then figure out how to educate your audience. Now, in the scope of producing content, I would say video and audio takes primary attention. Forget about audio. Audio is very little, but at least video, even if it is a 2 minute or a 3 minute or a 50 minute piece of content, video does the bit. Now, today, don't assume or don't start or don't visualize content as one format. Effectively, you have to create content in all the formats. But the thing is, depending on the piece of content, one format becomes a primary thing. So, for example, if I want to talk about a customer story, maybe a case study, a written case study becomes your primary format of content. But also, say you have access and the user in your customer office is willing to give you a testimonial, record that conversation in a video. Now, this becomes secondary. So, figure out what stories you want to tell, and eventually you will have to create all these contents in different formats. If your primary content is a written case study, figure out how you can repurpose this in visual formats. If your primary content is, let's say, webinar video, or let's say you're just your product video, your product person or an engineer, or you yourself, the founder, talking about the industry, the pain points, and your product, it can be a video, but you have to repurpose the piece of content, take the transcription, put the text wherever you publish it, and then distribute it organic and paid. Figure out where your buyers are and experiment with little money and drive awareness to it. Okay. And organic, understand that people go to social apps, be it Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, to consume content within the app. They don't want to leave the app. Don't tell them, here is the 3 things we achieved in this case study or this customer achieved with us. Go read this here. No. Try that for a month and figure out how many clicks you get on that link. It'll be less than 1 or 2%. There's no point. If you want to sell a story, do it within that post and leave them intrigued enough so that they engage with it by liking it, reposting it, or the best thing, commenting on it. Usually what happens is, if there is something really interesting, they copy the post link and they share it within their company on their Slack channel, through their email or through WhatsApp, and say, oh, hey, check this out. And all of this cannot be attributed. You don't know if people are sharing. You don't know how many people have actually clicked the link, copied the link, and are sharing within their own company. So, figure out what kind of stories to tell, figure out one primary format, and then repurpose it into other formats and distribute it organically and paid wherever relevant.
So most of the early stage enterprise businesses don't have online visibility. They lack in it because of time constraint, manpower. So everything will be done by the founders only. So how can they tackle this?
So this neatly ties into one of the points we discussed a few minutes ago about recognition. If you're not visible, people don't know you exist. If they don't know you exist, then where will you get the visibility from? So how do you gain visibility? If we reverse engineer this particular challenge, the next question you ask is, where are my audience spending most of their time? When they switch their phone open during a break, while commuting, or in their leisure time, even on their workstations, be it a PC, laptop, or whatever, a tablet, or whatever. So if we say, like you said, 90% of screen time on mobile phones is about content consumption. So where are they spending time? YouTube, Shorts, Instagram,
Reels. And
Spotify,
sometimes, Spotify, and
Apple
sometimes LinkedIn
Podcasts,
also.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right? If these are the primary channels where your audience spend most of the time on, that is exactly where you have to drive visibility. Okay, you optimize content to those channels, meaning you don't create content for those channels, but you still create content for your audience, but you optimize accordingly. For example, there is a distinction between creating content to a particular platform versus creating content to be consumed by your audience. SEO is a main culprit. Sometimes businesses focus so much on the technicalities of SEO, they start writing content including keywords for the search engine and less for the actual reader. So if you're doing on LinkedIn, if you're creating content distributing on LinkedIn, if it is organic, be crisp, be short, make sure you tell the entire story. Don't depend on people clicking on links and going to a landing page and reading, or going to a video, going to an audio. No. If you have a video, cut it into bits and publish those bits on LinkedIn so that they consume the entire video bit on that platform. Same thing applies on Insta. On YouTube, of course, you can go ahead with a long form content, but create content for people first. As you speak to the buyer, as you understand more, as you start producing case studies, write it in such a way, articulate it in such a way. If you're shooting videos, say the things which attract the attention of your buyer. See, eventually you're going to distribute it. In the early stages, you don't know which channel works for you best, right? So eventually you're going to distribute it in many of these channels anyway. So make sure you have your content in as many formats as possible, or at least one primary format, and distribute them and figure out which channel works for you, which type of message works for you, which format works for you, and then take it there. But there is a line between publishing everywhere and picking your channels. You'll get to that eventually, but make sure on LinkedIn, the complete story. On Insta, make it a little entertaining. Okay. If it is just a static image post, make sure the image is beautiful to look at. It has data. It has, if it is a chart, if it is a bar graph, if it is a before and after story, etc. See, for example, you can take a case study and break it into multiple different ways. Bunch of posts can be about the industry and the challenges and why it is a challenge and what happens if the challenges or problems are not addressed. And you support them with data. You take one data point, tell a story about the data point. You take second data point, you tell a story about. Every piece of data and problem in your case study is an opportunity to tell one story each. Okay, you create a slide, you can turn that into a video. Voila, you have video content with a voiceover. Our phones are good enough to capture our video and audio. And there are tools which have made audio and video editing so easy. You just upload, click, and it gives you crisp video or audio and upload them.
By the way, we are shooting this on iPhones only.
Yeah, so it is pretty easy.
Yeah.
So to generate visibility, make sure you keep the channel in mind, but focus on telling or producing content to your buyer, to your audience. Naturally, you will start generating visibility.
So I want one prediction from you. In 2034, does SEO exist?
I think so. Today it is search engine optimization, but every channel have to be optimized in some way. Now, it is very, very difficult or nearly impossible to optimize for social media because they keep coming up with new algorithms which change the rules. That's why we don't hear social media optimization so much. So it depends on how social channels evolve. It depends on where, as individuals, our attention is going, what type of apps we consume. If we talk about in 10 years AR and MR, augmented reality or mixed reality, if we start using glasses or headsets or stuff like that, which we may or we may not spend more than half an hour or 1 hour a day wherever we consume content. If that platform can be optimized, this optimization thing will always exist. The only question is, will search be the same today? Tomorrow, as and when GPTs like Bard and Gemini and whatever newer versions they come up with, will slowly move from text-based interaction to voice.
Voice, yeah.
Instead of typing our queries, chances are that we may ask the GPT to answer. In that case, search takes a whole new meaning. So how do you interact with buyers who search and discover stuff using voice? So it, and obviously then you have to optimize for voice based search.
Yeah, correct.
And the platform, the format, the platform, all of this comes to, are very important to pay attention to. But optimization will still exist regardless of the platform. If the platform allows, today you cannot optimize for TikTok or Instagram because they keep changing algorithms. So that is why they say while you can generate a lot as an individual, as an influencer, can generate a lot of engagement on Insta, you cannot monetize very well. But on YouTube, you can. You can optimize for YouTube. So it depends on the platform as well as the format of the content.
Let's go to leads.
Okay.
How can we generate quality leads?
Yeah. So this is one of the challenges for an early stage startup, early stage companies. See, at the end of the day, whatever we talk about, our strategy, our content production, where we distribute, etc., all we want at the end of the day is that scoreboard. How many signups, how many leads, which is quite natural. Now, but the problem is if we only focus on that and not in whatever we do, which leads up to that, we'll miss the whole point. We'll start expecting uh, things which may not happen, and we become dejected, and we say marketing doesn't work. I'm not going to invest. I'm not going to do this, and I'll only believe that I have a beautiful product which solves an existing problem. I have built it. They will come to me. Today it doesn't work like that. So how do we generate quality leads and conversion? To that, I will say, for an early stage company who is willing to drive visibility to the brand and to the product, whatever you do will be considered as curiosity. See, if I come across a new video editing tool or an audio editing tool, I'm curious. Okay. Chances are I may not be in the mindset to download and start using it right now because I have to shift from whatever I'm doing. So that's a challenge anyway. So leads, what when you run a campaign on LinkedIn or Insta or Facebook, or you run an email campaign and when people respond to you saying I'm interested, what does that actually mean? It means they are curious, they are interested. They are, from then on you have to qualify them. You have to talk to them and understand, are they even the right people you want to sell to? Are they the decision makers? Do they actually have the problem you're solving? And then you figure out, now this interest has turned into a proper lead, and that enters your funnel. Okay. Now, how do you attract the right audience? Whatever content you produce, however you distribute, whatever interests you generate, that is part one or step one. The next step is talk to them and figure out if they are the right people you want to sell to, and even if they are in the right mindset to buy your product or sign up and start using your product right now. Generate interests, nurture them, and qualify them into leads. Okay. So let's say you're starting your marketing exercise now. If you have paid customers, you do produce case studies. Or if you don't have paid customers, you create a bunch of content about educating the audience. Can you expect leads out of these exercises? No. Because will there be anybody who reads a case study and says, I want to buy this? Then what about your recognition? What about your credibility? How will they know that you are the right expert? So, how do you sell this credibility? How do you sell your expertise? A case study is just the outcome. So people, when they read a case study, they say, this product does this, and this company has benefited from that. But should I be investing in this product? How old is this company? What is this team strength? How big is their engineering team? How big is your customer support team? How easily can this product integrate with my tech stack? All of these things have to be articulated. Right? So a lead at the early stages mean completely different. They are mere interests and curiosity. They're just curious. Now you take them, you nurture them, and then you qualify them. That is how you generate quality leads.
How will you differentiate between visibility and presence?
See, visibility is people know you.
Okay.
Okay. And presence is you're being consistent. Okay. People consume 1 or 2 pieces of content and they are aware that you exist. You try and you sell this kind of a product. A presence is they repeatedly engage with your content. Consistency, coming back, brand recall, all these things. For example, if there is a LinkedIn ad campaign, I click on it, it's a case study, or it's a YouTube video which I consumed. I was so focused on the conversation in the video. A few days go by and I can't remember the name of the company. Who produced this video? Which case study did I read? I know that it solved some problem to this particular company, but I don't remember the name of the company. So within this case study, within this video, or within this primary, the first piece of content people engage with, ensure that you leave enough breadcrumbs so that they can come back until your brand name, until your product name, until your name gets registered. That is online presence. Now, how do you achieve this? You have to be consistent. Don't get dejected with at the end of the third month, they say no leads. So, okay, I'll scrap and throw it in the bin. We are not talking about generating product awareness. We are talking about building brand awareness in this episode, right? So you cannot create brand related content and expect people to sign up. It's about telling your audience on the channels they are active on that you exist. So establish baseline KPIs for that. In the past 3 months since you began, how many subscribers have you generated on your YouTube channel? If you have a YouTube channel, how many new followers have you gained on LinkedIn? How has your email open rate increased or evolved over the 3-month period? How many replies have you got? How many clicks have you got on your social posts, be it organic or paid? How many clicks have you got through your email marketing campaigns? Over a period of time, when you start tracking all of these and eventually see the amount of traffic you're driving to your demo page, amount of traffic, not demo page, let's say, because again, this is not product related. How much traffic have you generated to your homepage? These are indicators which tell you that your presence, your visibility is growing. I generated a report for one of our clients recently
Okay.
for the entire year, looking at 2023.
Okay.
The website traffic doesn't say consistent. It starts at some point in Jan. It stays consistent, and somewhere in the middle of the year it peaks, and then there is a drastic fall, and then it stays consistent, and it goes down further during December. Obviously, holiday season. Okay. So none of these engagements, be it on a website or on social or whatever we do to drive your brand visibility, stays consistent. You need to do this for a few quarters, for a few months to even establish a comparative analysis. Month on month is good, but I would say do it for a few quarters or for at least a year and then figure out, okay, quarter 1 versus quarter 2 versus 3 versus 4. Then you start establishing trends. So even by then, by the fourth quarter, you would have probably evolved your marketing strategy as well. The type of content you produce may have changed because in month 1 you have no more than 50 or 60,000 to spend. But by quarter 4, as you build signups, as you subscribe, as more people subscribe to your product, you may have a little more money. So maybe you have more resources to experiment with paid or organic or whatever. So even that matters. So that way, keep building, keep producing content to drive awareness with the sole purpose of educating your target audience and establish baseline metrics. Figure out on this channel, my objective was from these bunch of posts to drive traffic to my homepage. Has that happened? How many clicks and engagements on the post? How much traffic on the homepage while I ran this campaign? So that gives you a picture. That is how you build visibility and presence consistently.
So while doing marketing activities like content production, distribution, presence, visibility, etc., etc. So end of the day, founder has to measure ROI.
Yes.
So is it difficult?
In a very simple sense, it isn't.
Okay.
It isn't difficult if you know what you're expecting. If you're driving brand visibility and expecting signups, then there is a mismatch. Chances are you will be disappointed 9 out of 10 times. But while spending money and dedicating resources, be it your own as a founder or you hire somebody in house or on a based on a project, freelance or an agency, how do you justify this expense? So this depends on what you want to achieve. You want more people to know that you exist. You want your target audience to be aware of what you do. And if we dig a little deeper, generating awareness is not only about your business. It is about the problem. It is about the pain points. It is about the buyer. The more they know you, that is how you build visibility. So, as we spoke about in the previous point, you have to establish baseline metrics. If building visibility, I dedicate X amount of rupees or X amount of dollars, and I dedicate my time and maybe one or two other people's time, this is my objective. I want more people to know. Now, what does more people knowing my business means? Which means more traffic to the website, which means more followers on your social channels, which means better engagement to all your posts gradually. Okay. Nobody likes the post which you published in the first month. The second month, there are a few people. The third month, it grows. And also pay attention to the type of people who engage. Okay. I may like a certain post just because it visually appeals to me, but I may not be the user or the beneficiary or the buyer of the product at all. So cut through the clutter and figure out how many have you started attracting more such people. So all these baseline metrics will tell you if your expenditure is worth it. And don't stop at just driving visibility to your brand. You have to bridge whatever you do from driving visibility to your brand to slowly trickle down to drive visibility to your product. That is the second phase. That is a topic for another video. But you have to ensure once they are aware that you are from the company, whatever the name of your company is, and once they are aware what you do, and naturally then the subsequent step is your product. What is your product? How have you built it? How easy it is to use? Is it available on desktop, on mobile? How can I use it? Is it based? Do I have to pay it for a year? Is it a monthly subscription? Or is it just a product? Or is it product come service and some consultancy? All that comes next. Yeah. So measuring ROI is not difficult if you know what you are expecting and if it is realistic. So because you're driving visibility and followers, etc., through whatever you do, you don't have to spend a lot of money here. Be smart. And if you have, let's say, 100 rupees budget, dedicate 30 rupees to drive brand awareness and 70 towards your product, towards the solutions, towards generating signups and leads.
So a buyer's decision is not only based on what problem he is facing, it is also based on economic conditions, market dynamics. So how can a early stage business or a startup adapt to this?
No, it's a very good question. It's this is good that this is the last point we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of the last challenges.
One of the last challenges, yeah.
Because while you can control a lot about a lot of aspects about marketing, who you talk to, what questions you ask, how they you can't control how they answer, but what you do with their responses, how you take those insights and produce content again, how do you repurpose, where you distribute, and once somebody is consuming the content, where do you want them to go next? those call to actions, etc. A lot of these things can be controlled. But here, you cannot control the economy. You cannot control the market. And let's assume for the past 6 months, you've spent enough time to generate enough buyer insight. You have spoken to about 20 different people from 20 different companies extensively, and you have generated a repository in one Excel sheet, in a spreadsheet. You have put all these details. Okay. Their day to day stuff, what bothers them, what they want to achieve this year, what is their priority list for this year, how do they go about solving all these things. You have a document which tells a lot about your buyer. When compared to 6 months ago, when you knew very little, now you know a lot. Pandemic strikes, or there is a recession. So, whatever you've amassed, the insights about your buyers, that still holds true. But their decision making is influenced by the current economic condition. Or let's say, if that company is doing not so well, or is in talks to get bought out, or there can be other reasons as well. Or maybe they've raised a new round of funding and they have a lot of money. And what happens at most companies when they have money to solve problems is they go to people. Right? They put more people to solve the problem before figuring out if it can be automated or a software can do the same job much more efficiently. But we can't control a founder. You cannot control all of these things. But what we can do is be aware of these things. How not only staying in touch with your buyers and trying understanding what is happening in this particular industry or this enterprise or this small and medium scale business in terms of regulation, economy, market dynamics, etc. The moment you're aware of it, you can do two things. One, if the market is good and people are willing to invest, you have enough hints through your content marketing exercises that people are willing, good. Continue driving awareness to your brand and product. Well, the economy is a little tight. People don't want to invest. Continue driving awareness, but this time with the purpose of educating. Economy is down, educate and nurture them. Economy is up, people are willing to invest, focus more on the product, focus more on the solution. So this is how you, at the very top level, you can sort of adhere to market and economic conditions. Be aware about how willing your buyer is willing to open his or her wallet and spend the money and say, put the money on the table and say, I want this. If they are reticent, if they don't want to spend, then don't ignore them, educate them. Invite them for a conversation. Maybe here down the line, you stay on top of their mind.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So let's say whenever they get to the point of solving this problem through an external product, they're willing to invest. You should be at the top of their mind.
Yeah.
Which means you have to drive visibility. Your brand, even if they forget your product name. Because who remembers the product name unless and until it grows to a level of Tally, Salesforce, Google, Slack. Nobody remembers the product. SAP, right? So what happens, it's very difficult. If it is very difficult for people to remember the name of the product, then your brand, they should be able to quickly recall which company you represent. Hey, I remember that guy. He was talking to another, this CTO from one of these companies we know about. That was a nice conversation. Who is which company, which YouTube channel? Just this company. That is how. So it was, this episode was very interesting. In our previous episode, we spoke about building brand awareness. Awareness. Okay. If you have missed that episode, please, we'll drop a link.
Yeah, we'll drop a link.
Go and watch.
We'll also put short videos.
Yeah. In this episode, I want to tackle the ground realities of driving visibility for an early stage company. So I've spoken about 10 different challenges.
Yes.
And why they are a problem and what they can do to tackle. Now, the natural progression from here is there are some of these challenges we have addressed them very briefly, but some of them merit a deeper discussion.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll get into the nitty-gritties of why and in what formats this problem occur and how to tackle them individually. So it was a good conversation today, Gautam, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah,
So
and
stay
also I have to mention this. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Google Podcast, everywhere.
And also, if you want to watch the full conversation, go to our YouTube channel Unsold.
Yeah,
And also we are on LinkedIn. If you have a genuine problem,
yeah,
if you are an early stage company, you work as the CMO, head of marketing, head of sales, or you are the founder herself or himself, and if you want to bring up a certain topic which you think bothers a majority of the companies or which you face individually, please comment. Please reach out to us over YouTube or
you
just
can directly
over
reach
LinkedIn.
out to Santosh.
Yeah, on my LinkedIn, and we'll have a
Yeah,
conversation.
you can
about
DM
it.
us on anywhere, YouTube, Instagram, anywhere.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, on that note, thank you, Santu.
Thank you, Gautam. See you soon.